Hi, and welcome to Basic Training in IronCAD. In this course, we will go all the way from the very basics to some quite advanced features of IronCAD. In the beginning, we will explain everything very carefully, but soon we will expect you to know what was previously taught. So this is why it is very important that you really do all the exercises, even though they may seem quite simple in the beginning. The training is based on instructional films with audio and subtitles. The idea is that you watch the film for about 10 to 15 seconds in one window, and then you do the exercise in another window. There are no automatic stops, so you decide yourself for how long to watch the movie. Also, shift between the windows on the buttons in the Windows taskbar. Otherwise, you might select or deselect something important just by shifting windows. But let's get started by double left-clicking on the IronCAD icon on your desktop. A left click is a click on the left mouse button while you aim the mouse pointer on the icon or other object on the screen you want to select. If you have a registered version of IronCAD, you will see the IronCAD logo. If you have the demo version, you will probably see the trial dialog and you have to choose Run Trial. Regardless, the next dialog will be the Welcome dialog. In the Welcome dialog, we can choose to create a new scene, which is the 3D environment of IronCAD. This is where we create all the 3D geometry in IronCAD, regardless of whether it is a single part, an assembly containing sub-assemblies, or a sheet metal part. We can also choose to make a new drawing, which is the 2D environment of IronCAD. So this means that we have two major file formats in IronCAD. We have 3D files with the extension .ics and 2D files with the extension .icd. There's some more file types in IronCAD that we will come back to later. From this dialog, we can also choose to open an existing scene or drawing file. Then, as we can see, we can also choose to start with this Welcome dialog if we want. Now left-click on OK or press Enter to confirm. Now we come to the New Scene dialog where we can choose scenes from preset templates. IronCAD templates are, for instance, scene files saved with different backgrounds or units. They can also contain 3D geometry, like a complete room environment ready for newly designed furniture to be put inside. By default, we have metric scene templates, where all of the units are in the metric system. We have English scene templates, and we have studio templates for different purposes. If we look at the metric templates and left-click on blue.ics, it has a blue shaded background with excellent contrast. We can also see the full path to the selected template down here. In order to keep a reasonable file size for our instructional films, we have created our own soft blue.ics template with a single color background. While you should select the blue.ics background, I will left-click on this one. Left-click on Set Selection as default template to select this template to be our default template for new scenes, and it can be activated through this command button up here. Now left-click on OK or press Enter to get started. This is the IronCAD 3D environment, and firstly we will do a quick walkthrough to get an overview of the system. IronCAD is a typical Windows environment with a menu system and toolbars for quicker access to commands. The menus are here on top. We then have toolbars on top, on the left-hand side, and in the bottom of the screen. There are also some unattached toolbars here. The shaded blue area in the middle is the IronCAD scene, where all 3D geometry is created. On the right-hand side, we have the catalogs from where we can drag and drop different types of geometry, special tools, sheet metal parts, colors, and so on. I will spend just a minute to clean up my working environment. This instructional film is created with a special screen resolution. We have to compromise between screen content and the film size. Therefore, the film window is smaller than your screen. This means that all of your toolbars will fit inside the screen, while I must clean up a little. What you can do is to left-click here to close these toolbars. We do not need them for the moment. I will left drag, that is, to drag in this toolbar handle with the left mouse button pressed down, and then release it in a new position, this toolbar to here. I left drag this toolbar out on the scene, and then I close it with a left click on this cross. In IronCAD, we will use a lot of left click, left drag, right drag, etc. So it is important to learn what is what from the beginning. I left drag this down and close it with a left click here. I do the same with this toolbar, left drag, and then close it with a left click. This toolbar, I left drag in its handle and release it up here. This toolbar, I left drag here. Left click in this end of this toolbar. Mouse over Add or Remove buttons, Face Edge Edit. Left click on Taper Face, and left click on Match Face. We don't need them for the moment, and we need to make room for the eyedropper commands up here. Please try to make your 3D environment look similar to this. You can probably have more toolbars open, but it's easier to follow the course if you organize them like this. Now let's do a quick walkthrough of the menus. As we will use many of the commands throughout the course, we will not cover them here, or will just mention them briefly. We will start with the File menu. Apart from the ordinary file handling commands, we have Save as Part, Assembly, which we use for saving specific parts or assemblies from our scene. With the Save All as External command, we can externalize all parts in a single command, which is sometimes useful. Insert, on the other hand, is used to add parts or other objects to our scene environment. Then we have the import and export functions that are used to communicate with other programs, mainly other CAD programs. From here, we can also export photo, realistic pictures, or AV films from animations that we have created in IronCAD. If we now look in the Edit menu, we find very familiar Windows functionalities, and they work as you would expect them to. With the View menu, we control everything that is visible on the screen. We will take a moment to briefly explain the functionalities of some of the options. If we mouse over Toolbars, we get the option to activate or deactivate the different toolbars. Next, we can activate or deactivate the status bar, which is down here. This bar shows what IronCAD is expecting in different situations. It is good practice to always look down here for information. Next is the Smart Motion Editor, which is like a video editor for the animated movements we can create in IronCAD. The Catalog Browser option activates or deactivates the catalogs out here on the right-hand side. This will show or hide all of them, and we will later see how to handle them separately. If we left-click on the Scene Browser, we will get a tree structure visible on this left-hand side. It will show us all part structures, lights, cameras, coordinate systems, and so on. The Scene Browser is of great help in all of our IronCAD work. Left-click on the Properties tab here, and the Property Browser activates. These properties will vary depending on what's selected in the scene, and now, when nothing is selected, we see the scene properties. For example, what should be shown in the scene and how. Left-click on this pin to activate the auto-hide function for these two browsers. Mouse over their tabs here when you need to access them instead. Also left-click on the Catalog Browsers tab here to activate its auto-hide function. If you have a large widescreen monitor, you could have these browsers open, but I'm trying to maximize scene space for the films. Next in the View menu, we have the Parameter table from which we control parametric models in IronCAD. Under the Show button, we can find even more scene properties than what was visible in the Properties browser. We have lights and cameras in our scene environment, and here we can select whether to have them visible or not. If we have the Smart Motions button activated, we can see our animated movements on the screen. Attachment points are smart hooks for connecting parts and assemblies to each other, and here we can choose whether to see them or not. We can have different coordinate systems in IronCAD, and of course, we select to have them visible or not. The World Coordinate Axis is shown in the lower left corner of the scene and aids us in how we are orientated with regards to the global coordinate system. We will leave the following view options as we will cover most of them later in the course. In the Create menu, we find everything that we use to create new objects in IronCAD. It is mainly 3D geometry, but it may as